I'm not sure, but I think we're all here.
Yep, looks like everybody. How are you this morning?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Still smarting a little bit from that hour going away.
Yeah, not exactly my favorite day of the year.
Well, good morning. Nice to see everybody. Hoping to be productive today. John, I don't know if we need to do any level of check-in as far as what our time expectations are for today. I mean, I don't know that we have any hard and fast thoughts on that. Our goal continues to be to get to resolution. So I don't, however long it takes.
Right. We're the same way. We will need to take a break depending on what happens today. We will need to take a break at a few moments before 5. We have just because of the level of interest of the membership, we have sort of a general update that we're going to give them verbal update on where we are.
Okay.
However many people zoom in, we need to be at that. But I don't, that could be a break where we grab a bite to eat and everything else like that. Your team can,
sure.
Whatever it is that you need to do, but it would be a break that we have to take. So that's the only time constraint we have. And I hope it's not, but if necessary, we can come back right after it. With any luck, we have a deal by 5.
Okay. That sounds like a good way to go. I mean, do you have thoughts on how you want to move forward with the day, John?
I mean, we ended last night with both sides saying we don't know what to do because of the issues on the schedule. I mean, we've given some thought to, how things go, but they're all sort of, well, if this, then that type conversations. You guys have probably, I can only guess, you guys are doing the same thing, I assume, in your own versions.
Yep.
And then I think we were sort of not too, I mean, that number 3 section seems to be, with the schedules and everything all linked together, that seems to be the one where maybe it is the tightest conflict. Maybe section 1 would be a section that we could actually begin to make some progress on also.
Yeah, I mean, there are issues with section 1 that kind of all balance into the mix too. I think that is a struggle. The health and safety one felt like the one that was probably the most conducive to sort of pulling out as a standalone and trying to work through that. And I think we did some good work on that yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I think for us, those remaining 2 sections probably have to work in concert. And so, we're just trying to figure out how to be the most productive in accomplishing that, knowing that we also have DLI issues that we don't want to let kind of fall away, and special ed as well. So, I guess we referenced this yesterday, the possibility of kind of breaking into some groups to work on things, not because we don't want the full group to give attention to each of those things, but only to try and maximize our time.
Right.
That's kind of my mantra for the day is trying to maximize time and energy to address, a fair number of things still hanging out there. So I guess that's one idea that I would put out there is there any merit towards kind of breaking into some subgroups to work and then report back to the whole. So I guess I would put that one out there for discussion to see what you guys
I think that makes a lot of sense. Francisca has reached out to some of her colleagues to get some input from them on when we're back in, how that DLI program might need to function from their attitude. So, I mean, we're ready to have a DLI discussion. It is way outside of my wheelhouse. I absolutely defer to Francisca and her colleagues on these issues. But yeah, I think having some, common sense understandings of how some distinct areas of PAT membership and their professional functions, we might need to have those, because as we said yesterday when we brought this up, we just don't know how some of those will function effectively with the schedules and everything that's taking place. They seem to be working almost at cross purposes in some things. Yeah, let's do some small breakouts when the time we're okay with that.
Okay. And we have Claire Skelly's with us today, so welcome back, Claire.
Hi, Claire.
She's rested and ready to carry the weight for us on special ed related issues. So, I mean, I think we're looking to address those things as well. Not to put too much pressure on you, Claire.
No problem. Sorry that my husband's 40th birthday landed on an important bargaining day, but
Oh my God, you and Peter Brogan.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it was Peter's 40th.
Yeah, that's understandable, Claire. There's no way I'm going to bargain on my 40th.
Unlike me, you have no commitment, Brian.
I'm just kidding. My 40th.
Brian, I think more importantly, there's no way you're going to bargain on your wife's 40th birthday. So let's see.
Both of those dates have long come and gone.
There you are.
Unfortunately. So anything else, John, that you guys are thinking of from just a broad kind of organizational standpoint, or how you want things to work?
Not really. It's really like all of us. I feel the significance of how short our time frame is, and I just am looking to jump into it. I'll take whatever plan and whatever structure we all feel that we can work with.
Okay.
Maybe just sort of a quick walkthrough of where we are in each section, just as a set the table so that both sides begin with the same approach.
Sure. You want to do that? Do you want us to do that? Like, what do you want to do?
Actually, let me ask Steve. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Steve, but Steve, do you have the last little bit of work that we did on the side-by-side? Are we, I know it's in the side-by-side format, so it's kind of a little wonky to follow, but I think that might be our most updated document. Are we ready to share that? Oh, talk about an answer. I don't know.
Steve's Johnny on the spot there.
Thank you, Steve. And here I go trying to scroll again. Okay, so here's section 1. I mean, we had a couple of things that were, there's been conversations about it. Our thought process, we were trying to find a way that would provide a level of security and a capacity to plan for, things we don't think are going to happen and we really hope will not happen. But, when is it that we might have to move back to a CDL for safety purposes? We didn't want to tie it to the RSSL because we heard loud and clear from your side that tying it that way was problematic. And, leaving it open to constant change was a problem for us. So, we've tried to just sort of list mile markers, for want of a better term, rather than linking it to specific documents. I think the other major issue there was that we had talked about, look, we don't know what's taking place, but we just don't think that, given variance and people's, the number of parents who want to still stay out and everything else like that, we don't think it makes any sense to say, well, we're dropping it down to 3 feet or 2 feet, or we're not having any social distancing requirements. So we just said it's a distinct period of time. It's, 8 weeks that kids will actually be doing things. The 19th for the high school and middle school. So, we were saying maintaining the 6 feet for the duration. Of course, that just until obviously, hopefully we're all in a different place come September. We can't imagine that this would still be an issue, but who knows?
Can I ask you about the vaccine, on the vaccine component?
Yes.
I mean, I know that our secondary folks are a little bit in a slightly different boat. I mean, do we have kind of general consensus on the belief that with the dates that we're talking about returning, we will have satisfied the language we're putting in here? I mean, I think what we're trying to avoid are innumerable, individual, like I tried to make an appointment and I couldn't get in here, or
there are going to be a few of those, but
yeah, I mean, so
yeah, but I mean, the vast majority, really, really vast majority, I think the answer will be yes.
Yeah, it just seems like with the way that it was structured in the waves and how those timed out, that those requirements or our conditions here on vaccine should be met. So, okay, thanks. Just wanted to
sure. Now, on your side, in that vaccinated section, you have, in accordance with the governor's order, the PK5 will return on the 29th. We have some ideas that we're willing to discuss about, what happens when in the PK5.
Yeah, and I think we mix those return dates into this vaccination piece. I think we can kind of separate that out. They're kind of two slightly different topics here.
Sure, that's what we thought, but that's okay, that's fine. And I'm certainly not going to say that you can't throw together a proposal as you see fit. So that's fine. But the general concept, we understand how that's kind of going, and from our discussions yesterday and everything else.
Okay.
You've agreed to the safety committees.
Yeah. Do we have much disagreement on how? I'm trying to see what we really have differences there in how that safety committee is going to operate.
I really don't think we do. I mean, the one thing is what happens. The only thing that we didn't talk about was, or reach full agreement on. I mean, we've talked about it, but the only thing we haven't really reached full agreement on is what happens if we find a room that clearly is not there. What do we do? And again, we know that the district is working overtime trying to get these things ready and get them set. The earlier we can get in to do a building walkthrough, the better, and then to have the days in there to the professional development days prior to the students' return gives people a chance to check on their room.
Yeah.
So I mean, we don't think that this will be a major hurdle. What it does is, I think the only place it could be an issue would be what happens if something goes odd with a room once kids are back and you show up in the morning and say, holy smokes, I'm missing so-and-so, or this is clearly not in such and such a case. Who knows what they might be? That would be the only sort of difficult circumstance in that one, I think. And that would be a temporary thing until the room could be gotten back in order.
Okay.
I have a feeling that those would probably be addressed in the very same day.
Okay, so this section's pretty darn close.
Yeah, just as a point of clarification, as we talked about in a previous meeting, what we're looking for to satisfy this portion down here is a mechanism for an educator to be able to quickly report and receive near instant feedback on how a safety problem in their room would be dealt with. For example, you come in and the air purifier is not working. Kids are coming in 15 minutes. What do we do to get this purifier, get a new purifier in here, a different space with a working purifier? We need an answer to solve this before the kids get here in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And we think that there is a way to do that with an expedited reporting system, et cetera.
We think so too. I mean, Danny talked about how quickly they could, it might be just throwing a circuit breaker, that sort of thing for a portion of the room, or trying to figure out quickly what's overloading what on a circuit and unplugging that so the purifier works, that kind of thing. So, I mean, we think that a pretty quick response on most of these types of circumstances is doable, but
okay.
We just can't make a promise on it. And at the same time, we want to, even though we can't make a promise, we want to make sure that we don't say, well, an unsafe room is okay for today. So then G.
Is there anything in G that we need anymore with our agreements? I mean, you don't need to say, I don't know that we need to dissect it line by line now, but I just wonder if G is necessary given what we agreed to yesterday and the other one on testing. So
that's a good point. And I think it actually is contained in the other one as well, particularly since we all talked about the dates to have those applications in.
Yeah. So maybe that'll be one as we move down the line here, just take a look at and see if there's anything in there or if we've got it accounted for.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the later one captures the work of obtaining the consent from families for testing.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
And that would be an important piece, I think.
Yeah, it's a requirement of the process. So yes, we would want to maybe just take that one line and move it down.
Okay.
We've been through H 101 times, and we're still, that's connected to the schedules piece.
Yeah.
This was one that we put together actually. I don't know how to say it. So, we crafted I after conversations and ideas were exchanged between the two teams. We didn't think that this was going to be a major block. We thought that the problem was going to be how would the vote and or the input take place is what we're talking about. But the idea that there would be options we didn't think was going to be an issue. We realize that is a different circumstance now. So we may need to spend some time on that.
Okay.
We have, for some reason, another I, because we really like I. We're there with it. I don't know what else we can say about those things. We've all had this conversation. I think the district has even taken attempts to address some of these with the childcare circumstances, and Jay is also mentioned there.
Yeah.
But what happens to a person who cannot be vaccinated? And that's what I is addressed. This second I is addressing. The childcare were there. We tried to put in language that actually was based upon. We hadn't seen the communication when we wrote this, but it was based upon conversation.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know that there's too much difference there. So.
The whole idea of trying to find alternate assignments, again, that's going to be linked to how these schedules work. And, I suppose in a sense to the idea of voice within the building, potentially, I guess. I know that L, you're there with L.
Yeah, L.
Nobody has a problem.
L doesn't show on our side of the ledger, but clearly there's no disagreement with that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
I'm fine adding that language in just to make it clear for people that. Okay.
So this, obviously, we had to change the section M because we'd moved things around. But, if there are people in circumstance other than people who cannot get vaccinated, they're the only, so if these are other people that if there is an opportunity for them to work remotely, that's fine. If it's not that circumstance, then they would be able to apply for leaves, whatever appropriate leave would be there. We've already addressed. Both sides have talked about that.
That language looks consistent between the two proposals. Yeah, as you look through the variety of issues, I think a couple of times he said, it has that interrelation to the schedule piece, and I really continue to feel like, this section and that section 3 are kind of intermixed together, and so trying to figure out all the moving parts, or at least the key components of those two sections and how they kind of work together in a package is going to be necessary. And I'm trying to think of the best way to accomplish that. And I almost feel like returning to some version of almost like a brainstorming or idea sharing type of a format might be easier than us kind of constantly going back and writing.
I agree.
Language and then bringing it back for you. And
I think that's too cumbersome a project at this point.
Yeah. And so, that leads me to wondering if we can have a group working on DLI and a group working on SPED, perhaps. Again, I hate to break us apart like that, but in the interest of time, if we then had another group that was doing some offline kind of brainstorming or idea sharing, that might be the fastest way to move us forward. Because otherwise, we're going to have to say, okay, well, we go back and try and write a complete section 1 and section 3, and come back and present that. And then I think we're back into our cycle where we're a couple hours between each exchange. You know what I mean? That's just the inevitability of how it works, having to do business that way. So
sure.
Sometimes there's ideas that are easier to throw out if we're in kind of an informal idea sharing session. It's easier to throw out ideas than when you're putting them down on paper and sort of committing to them. So
yeah,
I guess that would be my suggestion, if we can kind of organize into some breakout groups and move offline for those conversations. To me, that might be our best path forward. So I don't know if that has any appeal to you guys.
I think it does. It's shifting us from sort of the traditional to the quasi interest-based approach, but that's fine. I certainly, I need to talk with my team to see if they're okay with it, but yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, well, why don't we take a step away and have that conversation of, okay, does it make sense to do that? And if so, how, who would we group or how would we organize that? And then maybe we can just exchange a text or a phone call to say, okay, either yay or nay on that. And how do we want to move forward? Does that work okay?
That sounds great. So it's roughly speaking 10:30, let's say 10:45, we're back.
Perfect.
We'll be able to do this very quickly.
Okay, sounds good. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
Thanks.